The observation deck of the Galactic Council's diplomatic station hummed with the quiet efficiency of a dozen species coexisting in careful harmony. Ambassador Velthar of the Zephrosian Collective stood by the panoramic viewport, his crystalline form refracting the distant stars into prismatic patterns across the polished floor. Beside him, Commander Crix of the Thalner hegemony kept 3 of her 6 eyes fixed on the newest member of the Council's crew. The human sat alone at a corner table, utterly absorbed in his meal. "I don't understand the Council's decision," Crix chittered, her mandibles clicking with obvious distaste. "Humans are barely space-worthy. Their worlds only achieved fusion technology 2 cycles ago. Why grant them diplomatic passage?" Velthar's light pulsed thoughtfully. "The director believes in their potential. Something about adaptive resilience and unconventional problem-solving." "Potential?" Crix's antennae twitched in the Thalnor equivalent of a scoff. "They're Deathworlders. Gravity-bound primates who evolved dodging predators on a planet with weather patterns that would constitute war crimes on civilized worlds. The human in question, one Marcus Chen, according to the manifest, seemed blissfully unaware of their scrutiny. He'd pulled out what appeared to be preserved nutrition from his personal effects, carefully arranged on the table before him. Then came the smell. It hit the station's atmospheric processors like a chemical attack, rich metallic, unmistakably organic, the scent of fresh blood carried on recycled air. Velthar's crystalline structure flickered in alarm. Crix's body went rigid, every combat instinct in her predatory ancestry suddenly alert. Across the observation deck, a dozen species looked up from their activities, biological and cybernetic sensors alike detecting the crimson signature in the air. From the service corridor, a sound emerged that turned diplomatic unease into primal terror. The Zarath had been sleeping in the lower decks, one of the galaxy's apex predators, a species that had earned their council seat through sheer unkillable ferocity. They resembled the ancient dragons of human mythology, if dragons had been forged from nightmare and given molecular density armor plating. When a Zaruth smelled blood, every survival instinct in every other species screamed the same message: run. The creature's massive form filled the corridor entrance, nostrils flaring, eyes gleaming with the cold intelligence of a perfect hunter detecting wounded prey. Its scales scraped against the doorframe as it entered, each movement deliberate, predatory. The smell had awakened something ancient in its brain, something that existed before civilization, before the Council, before law and order imposed themselves on the savage universe. The observation deck cleared in seconds. Velthar and Crix joined the exodus, leaving only the human and the dragon in the space between. Marcus Chen looked up from his meal, a strip of something red and dripping clutched in his hand. The Zaruth's massive head swiveled toward him, tracking the blood scent to its source. The creature's body coiled, muscles bunching beneath armor plating. Its jaw opened slightly, revealing rows of teeth designed to rend starship hulls. From the safety of the corridor, Crix watched through the viewport, her translator implant already composing the incident report for the deceased human diplomat. Beside her, Velthar's light dimmed in what his species called morning preparation. Then Marcus Chen did something impossible. He smiled. "Hey there, big guy," the human said, his voice carrying that particular casual warmth that Deathworlders used when unconcerned by mortal danger. "Relax, it's only my lunch." The Zaruth stopped mid-stalk, its predatory circuitry apparently short-circuited by the sheer audacity of the response. The translator implant struggled with the human's tone, which registered somewhere between friendly greeting and complete indifference to death. Marcus held up the bloody strip. "Steak, medium rare. Want to try some? I've got extra." He reached into his container and pulled out another piece, placing it on a spare plate. Then, and this was the part that would be discussed in xenopsychology classes for the next decade, he walked toward the galaxy's most efficient killing machine and set the plate down between them. "Raised on real cattle, grass-fed from Montana. Hard to get in space, but I've got connections." Marcus returned to his seat and took another bite, making an appreciative sound. "Nothing beats real meat, you know." The Zaruth approached the offering with the caution of a creature whose entire worldview was being reconstructed. It sniffed the steak, analyzed its chemical composition, and then, with a delicacy that seemed impossible from something its size, took the meat. The observation deck's occupants watched in stunned silence as the predator dragon and the human ate lunch together. "Humans," Marcus continued conversationally, apparently conducting a one-sided dialogue with the universe's most terrifying apex predator. We've been cooking meat for thousands of years. Discovered fire, learned to control it, used it to make food safer and tastier. We like our steaks bloody because it reminds us where we came from, you know. Top of the food chain on a planet where everything wanted to eat us. The Zaruth settled onto its haunches, continuing to eat. Its previous killing intent completely replaced by what could only be described as culinary interest. We learned pretty early that just because something looks scary doesn't mean you can't share a meal with it. Marcus gestured with his fork. Some of the best conversations I've had were over food. Universal language, really. When the meal concluded, the Zaruth made a sound, a deep, resonant rumble that the translator interpreted as acceptable, but which carried undertones of something closer to respect. As the dragon departed, leaving a bewildered observation deck in its wake, Marcus Chen cleaned up his lunch containers and returned to reading his diplomatic briefings. Ambassador Velthar approached slowly, light pulsing with confused curiosity. "How did you know it wouldn't kill you?" Marcus looked up, genuinely surprised by the question. "Kill me? Why would it?" "I was just having lunch." The blood scent triggered its hunting response. Every species on this station recognized lethal danger. The human considered this, then shrugged with that peculiar Death Worlder nonchalance. On Earth we had tigers, bears, wolves, all kinds of predators. You know what we did? We made some of them into pets, figured out that feeding something and treating it with respect works better than running scared. He smiled. Besides, I could tell it was curious. Curiosity and aggression? They're different body languages, even across species. As Marcus returned to his work, Crix approached Velthar, all 6 eyes wide. "The director was right," she whispered. "These humans, they really are something different." Velthar's light flickered in what might have been agreement or might have been existential uncertainty. They evolved on a death world, surrounded by danger, and somehow decided that sharing lunch was the appropriate response. From that day forward, station personnel noticed a peculiar change. The Zaruth, previously content to sleep and hunt in solitude, began appearing in the observation deck during mealtimes. And the human, Marcus Chen, always had an extra plate ready, because that's what humans did. They turned predators into companions, danger into opportunity, and the unknown into friends, one meal at a time.